Christian Jack alongside Jesse Marsch. Jesse, as always, delighted to chat with you, a pleasure. I just want to spend the next 10 or 15 just to get to know you a little bit more. We're not going to talk tactics in this conversation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, great. When did you first know or want to be a coach? When's that memory when you're like, I want to do this?
You know, I think it was when I was in the university.
Okay.
And I met Bob Bradley. And Bob ran different kinds of training sessions than I'd ever been a part of, you know, and he pushed the level of play every day and he demanded a lot out of me. And there were days in the beginning where I was like, this guy's just a jerk. But then the more that I kind of realized and got to know him and realized what he was doing is he was trying to make me the best that I could be, and he was trying to push me every day. And he treated me like that because he believed in me.
Right.
And then I responded. You know, I really responded to him in a big way. And it made me even more, you know, I thought I loved the game. And what I realized is I loved the process of trying to be the best that I could be. Yeah. And so that is kind of when I was like, I think that I'm meant to do this.
So you start obviously with the national team and you get the assistant job. You come to Canada, you work in Montreal, and then obviously you go in different places and your career speaks for itself. So I've asked you when you wanted to become. When did you know that you could be good at this? Was there a certain job or a certain game?
Well, I mean, look, when I played, when I turned about 26, I started having a family, and then I started kind of looking into the future of like, okay, what am I going to get out of my life? I'm not going to be able to play forever. And I was a good player, but I wasn't a great player, you know, and I didn't make enough money. Some guys make a lot of money where they can retire and they can do whatever they want. That was not me. And so through that time, I was coaching while I was playing, and in the off season, I was traveling to Europe, and I was watching training sessions, and I was, you know, the players that I knew that were playing with different clubs, I would go watch them play, I would go to matches. And so through that, I kind of like was developing who am I and who am I going to be as a coach. And I believed strongly at that time that even the leader I was as a player, like it was almost like from 26 to 36 was almost like a research project for me on the coach that I wanted to become. So, you know, I believe that my potential was higher always as a coach than it was as a player. But I never thought I'd coach in the Premier League, or I never thought I'd coach in the Bundesliga or Champions League and things like this. I just wanted to try to be the best coach that I could be and develop myself. And then if it wound up being university, if it wound up being MLS or whatever it wound up being as I would progress through my life, I just wanted to try to do the best job I could.
Fascinating. I get the impression that, of course, your job is always determined by outcomes on the field. That's what people judge success or failure in. But I get the impression that you go into this because you can make a difference and connect with people, and that is almost more important than the outcome. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. I mean, I think the thing I hate the most about my job is that people have the right to judge me just based on wins and losses.
Okay.
And I think that I hope that the people that have known me know that I'm a lot more than that. And look, I've had success, but even when I think, you know, when I look back in my life and I think about this being a manager or a player, I don't think about raising the trophies as much as I think about the people that I've worked with and the relationships that I have and the relationships I continue to have with those people. And so, and I believe that, you know, that fostering those relationships was a big part of our success. And the byproduct of being strong and committed and believing in something bigger than yourself is that you can create success and you can become a winner. So it all kind of fits together, you know, and it's kind of the same way I think about tactics, you know. So we're not going to speak about tactics, but I try to build these environments where like all the building blocks and pieces make sense, you know, and everybody can look at what's being done and go, okay, I see why we're doing it that way. I see why we're doing this. I see why we're playing like this. I see why he talks like this. Because for me, they're all connected. Everything's interconnected with everything you do with the team. So, that's kind of the fun, is that complexity, and making that complexity incredibly clear and simple is often what dictates how successful you can be.
Let's talk about communication, because whenever I talk to your players now, they praise your communication right from the start. They know where they stand. This is what they say. You're authentic. Where does that come from? Have you always been a good communicator?
I've always been a talker, I guess, maybe.
Right.
And then I've had to learn how to modify that for whatever, you know, whether it's a father or whether a husband or a friend or a son. But then when you're a manager, I think the precision at which you can communicate with people to make them understand and be clear with how they fit, and to be very honest with them about how they can improve and how they can commit more and how they can give more, and when they're not meeting standards, how they need to adjust. Like, this is important to me, and I try to hold myself to the highest standard of everyone. And if I make a mistake, I'll be very open with them and talk to them about it. If I'm not sure, if I don't have a solution for a situation that we're part of, I'll ask for opinions and I'll want to hear what people say. And I want that to be understood as part of the environment, but also part of the process of who we are and what we want to become. So, and I think that it's more fun that way. Really, I just think I don't want to be a coach who just stands in front and goes, you do this, you do this, you do that, you do that. That's not fun for me. Right. That doesn't inspire me as a person. So I choose not to do it that way.
And what I've noticed, Jesse, is following your career is that you've stayed true to those values and beliefs, no matter what country the world has taken you in, what the sport has taken you in. No, even in England, and I can say this being from there originally, where it's cutthroat and ruthless, and they're on every word. No,
yeah.
You speak like you've done like some really intense interviews with the BBC, Simon Jordan, and you've given it back as much as you received. No,
I mean, look, England was. I'm thankful I had a lot of experience behind me by the time I got to England.
Okay.
And I was prepared for what it was, but I underestimated even the challenges that I was going to experience. But I think it made me stronger, and it made me clear and more convicted on the things that I really value. And, I think I was criticized unfairly for certain things, but whatever, that's life, and by the way, I'm not complaining. Like, I've said often, I'm an American white male, right? Like, I haven't experienced a lot of discrimination, and I've been given a lot of opportunity that maybe other people wouldn't have gotten. And along the way that I've had challenges, but I've always tried to understand why you have those challenges, what they mean, how to have solutions, but then how to still stay true to exactly who I want to be. So you have to be a little bit of a chameleon in this business. Like, I had to learn German. I had to understand the way the culture worked in Austria. I had to understand in England. But in all of that, I wanted to also be uniquely myself. And so I think I can say that I achieved that. And even under highly stressful situations, I think I stayed very true to the things that I believe in and how I want to treat people and how I want to be treated. But there were certainly some stressful, challenging moments in there where I had to really remind myself that those things are most important to me.
Very well said.
Yeah.
You have passion too, I can tell. And you fell hard for Leeds, no? I remember hearing there was a moment where after you left, you could have maybe got the Southampton job, say what you want, you can't about that, but they were about to play Leeds and you thought about, do I really want to go manage Southampton against this team that I've just managed? Yeah. That says a lot about your heart and how much you love that club and any club, including Canada now, right? You almost fall in love with these players.
Well, I told, I've talked openly that when I first got the job, like the first week I went around and I met with a bunch of players. And right away I liked them and I knew I would. And I told most of them that I said, I know I'm going to fall in love with this team. And I know it's going to be difficult for me when I have these breaks where I have to say goodbye to them. Fortunately, I had a lot of things to do, and then now we've been together. And that part's been great, and we've made progress, and we've enjoyed the process. But it's going to be hard at the end of the tournament to okay, now what? So, but I'm going to keep challenging them to improve themselves so that they can help represent their country the way they possibly can.
And one of those players is your new skipper, Alphonso Davies. You've talked already a little bit about the decision to award him the captaincy, but what did you see right away from him in the leadership qualities that you want, and what do you think some of the other players around him now want more from him?
Well, look, when I met with them all, I could still see that Fonzie was still young, and he's had such an incredible career already and so much success at a young age, but when he was the first player I went and met with, and when I was in Munich with him and we had dinner, I could see that, he's still developing as a person and as a player.
Was he nervous during your chat? Or?
I don't know if I'd say I was nervous, but it definitely was unusual for him,
right.
To sit down with a coach and have dinner. And even at the end, I asked him. I said, how many times have you sat with your coach and had dinner? He goes, yeah, never. And and we kind of laughed, and we had a really nice time, and we got to know each other. And and I asked him at that dinner. He said publicly, I asked him a lot of questions, and one of them was like, do you want to be captain? And he said yes. He said he wanted to be captain. And he said he thought he'd be a good captain. And then we talked about the reasons why and everything else. But, what do the players want from him? Well, I think they want him to be him. I think that they look to him. They do. And even though he's one of the younger guys, I think they understand how good he is. I think they understand how important he is. I think that they understand he also embodies a lot of them in general. It's a very multicultural team with guys that come from different backgrounds, but consider themselves also very Canadian. So Fonzie, in all the best ways, I think, represents exactly what each individual is and what the team is in the collective. And now, some of this, I don't like sharing everything about everything we talk about, but we know that Fonzie has to grow into this. We don't expect him to be a polished, finished product, but I think that everyone's going to come together in a way to support him and challenge him and help him become the captain that we need in 2 years. And that's, obviously we want to do well in this tournament, and we want to do well in every game we play in. But I am intensely fixed on making sure that we don't skip steps, and that we do everything we possibly can to make sure in 2 years that we are peaking and we are at our best.
You mentioned the collective there helping Fonzie. How do they help Canada collectively now? Because they are a great group. Fans connect with them all the time. Media, yourself. You talked about how likable they are.
Yeah.
Are they too likable?
Well, there's a lot to that question. So first, I want to get documentaries on these guys out there. I want them accessible to their fans. I want people to know about them. And as I've gotten to know them, they're incredibly likable, and they're incredibly inspiring, and they all have unique stories, and they've all been through big challenges. And I think that it could help inspire the country and really bring everyone together. And I want them to be household names, and I want them to feel the energy of representing the country and know that everyone's behind them. Right, so we're working hard to continue to make these guys accessible and make these guys everything they deserve to be. And then in there is my job to make them the best team that they can be. Because in the end, if we can win more games, then that's one of the things that'll inspire people the most. Are they too likable? In some ways, yes. And look, it's even some of the stuff's gotten out at different moments about me talking about being an American and being arrogant, and that, it's true. Like, Canadians are much kinder, nicer people than we are as Americans, right? And I've known a lot of Canadians in my life, and I've always had really good relationships with them because I consider, in general, you can't draw stereotypes of everybody, but I've found Canadians to be very amicable and respectful and kind. And that's great, but that doesn't always make the best football team, right? So, I'm just challenging them to use that and to use the love they have of each other, the love they have of playing for this team, the love they have of playing for this country, and to build into it a stronger edge, a more mature mindset, a stronger value set of what it's going to really take to be the best and how to push themselves on an every day and not just enjoy being a professional soccer player, right? And that's not just for when we're here. We need to make a little bit of a shift in their lives for them to understand that they can be fitter, that they can be smarter, that they can be sharper, that they can be stronger, that they need to continue to build their psychology and mental approach to what they think success is and how they're going to drive themselves to get there. So it's a lot, right? And the biggest thing I'm trying to do with them every day is create high demands. And make sure that they're ready to respond to those demands, because that's the best way when we're together that we can elevate the status of how the team plays.
Last couple with you, and again, thanks so much for your time. You mentioned the difference between the US and Canada there. Have you allowed you to think of that moment when you will play the US? Because it's going to happen soon, right? And in Nations Leagues and battle them as an American with that Canadian
It'll be a little tough for me, because obviously I've always been connected with the U.S. national team in my country, but I'm so fixated on helping this team, and representing this team, and knowing how important 2026 is, that I think, certainly competitively I'll be up for it, and I want to make sure that our team is. It'll be a little emotional, I think, when I hear the national anthems and everything, but I'm excited for that moment, and I know that the U.S. right now is the standard in CONCACAF, and we need to challenge ourselves. And by the way, the team has already competed and performed well against the U.S., but we need to know that that's our biggest game, that we can play.
Appreciate the honesty, I really do, and the emotion. Last one for you, then let's turn it to ending on a bit more of a positive, and that's June 12th, 2026. I know that's what you're fixated on. We don't know the opponent right now, but I know where you'll be, and we know where many people will be in Toronto and then to Vancouver. Do you think Canada is ready? Are you even thinking about what this is going to be like to welcome the world and host these games and try and get out of a group for the first time and win their first game? It's going to be magical, no?
Yeah. Yes. I haven't really allowed myself to go there yet, right. Because the work that needs to be put in every day to make sure that when we get there that we're fully prepared is really what I've been focused on. But I'm not just thinking about the tactics. I'm not just thinking about the squad. I'm not just thinking about the team. I'm thinking about the sport in general in the country, and what can we do to use this moment to inspire people to want to be the next Alphonso Davies, to want to be the next Jonathan David. And look, there's already plenty of that in the country, but we need to magnify that even more so, So that's why our vision, and Kevin Blue and the conversations we have, we're fixated on the details, but our overall vision is to build momentum in a way and create a movement that inspires the entire nation. Yeah. And so that means we need everybody. We need you, Christian. Come on.
Let's do it.
But if you do allow yourself the moment to think about what it can and could be like in 2 years, it certainly is really exciting.
It's emotional thinking about it. It really is. Listen, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, man.
Thank you.